Welcome back everyone to the video, and today I wanted to do a brief video going over the Eagles in 2024, or at least heading into the 2024 season and what we can really expect. There's a few teams I'm really eyeing this year to make some big jumps, some teams to, maybe underwhelm, but the Eagles are one I think could really not surprise people, but kind of bounce back to where they were in 2022 with that Super Bowl appearance. 2023 is a bit disappointing, mix of bad coaching, bad player performance, just a bit lackluster down the stretch. I think 2024 can be much different for them though. Just to quickly summarize the 2023 season for the Eagles, Hurts threw for 3,858 yards, 23 touchdowns with 15 interceptions. Then also rushing wise, he had 605 yards and 15 touchdowns on top of that with, the tush push play, getting a lot of those touchdowns. Not to take anything away from it, just, factually, a lot of them were from the goal line like that. And then also rushing wise, D'Andre Swift had 1,000 yards with 5 more touchdowns rushing. And then receiving, A.J. Brown, 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns, as well as Devontae Smith cracking 1,000 yards and 7 more touchdowns on top of that. And then Dallas Goedert with 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. Well, really 600 yards. I probably should have rounded, up 8 yards rather than down 92. Defensively, the secondary tended to struggle a bit with James Bradbury not playing his best and Darius Slay not playing his best. To me, the highlight was really the rookie Jalen Carter. He had a phenomenal rookie season. He definitely had a case for Defense Rookie of the Year. I'm excited to see him in year 2. He is definitely somebody to watch there. And actually, the Eagles have several players on defense I'm excited to see this season. As of right now, we have Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, which is a huge addition in the offseason, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Paris Campbell, Dallas Goedert, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson. So, obviously, you still have a very good offensive line. The biggest, missing piece here is not Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce. Obviously, to retirement. You still have a great O-line, but it's pretty much impossible that his absence is not felt to at least some degree. Other than that, though, I love the Saquon Barkley addition. This is a really, really good running back who can make a huge impact on the ground in the receiving game. He can do a little bit of everything. And also, you still have Kenneth Gainwell, too, who's really not that bad. And then you draft Will Shipley. So you have a pretty good running back room, in my opinion. It's pretty deep. Wide receiver room, I know your top 2 are amazing. Paris Campbell is a solid 3. And then after that, it's definitely a little weaker as far as like the depth there. So something to watch, but I still really like this team as a whole heading into this season. And then again, Dallas Goedert there too. So one thing for me last season was I was not a fan of Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator. I felt like the play calls at times were just kind of strange. Like you'd have a 3rd and 9 that's like a quarterback draw, and yeah, Hurts is a great runner, but was it like the best call there? And it just wouldn't really work out. It just looked like it was just so discombobulated to how it looked in 2022 when the offense was really just firing on all cylinders with a Super Bowl appearance, nearly winning that game against Mahomes. They had an excellent season, and then after that, Shane Steichen leaves to be the head coach of the Colts, and the offense, I wouldn't call it a regression, but it was just very underwhelming, and I feel like knowing what like we saw the previous year, it was just a different look that I don't think fit the style the players are just more comfortable and better producing when they're running it. And so now in 2024, you add Kellen Moore to be the offensive coordinator, and I think that could really open things up for the Eagles, and I think we will see a bit of a bounce back, especially for this offense and especially for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts in that 2022 season did a pretty good job of not turning the ball over a bunch compared to last season where the turnovers were definitely up a little bit. And I wouldn't say he had a bad season, but it was not on the level that we know he's capable of playing. A.J. Brown, of course, did his thing. Devontae Smith did his thing too. But now that you have Kellen Moore in there and we can see a very, vertical offense, you have 2 receivers, one of the best wide receiver duos in the entire NFL, honestly. It's definitely top 5. You have that duo. You have a receiving. I wouldn't say receiving back. I think he definitely is impactful in the receiving game. If you call Saquon a receiving back, I think it's definitely valid. But regardless of how you categorize him, Saquon Barkley is definitely productive in the receiving game. So you have him now too. It's like this offense, I think is going to be even more dynamic than what we saw in 2022 because, in my opinion, other than losing Jason Kelce, it might be better skill position wise. And then defensively, it's really exciting too. You still have Jordan Davis. You now have Jalen Carter in year 2. Definitely a second year player to watch league wide, not even just on the Eagles. Looking at guys going to their second year to take a huge leap. Jalen Carter, he had a great rookie season, and his ceiling is probably much higher than what we saw. So definitely have to keep an eye on him. You have Kobe Dean. You bring in Devin White at linebacker. You have Nolan Smith there too. But the big thing is you bring C.J. Gardner-Johnson back from Detroit. He was in Philadelphia in 2022. He leaves for Detroit in 2023, and now he's back for 2024 in Philadelphia. You have Reed Blankenship there at free safety still, and you still have Darius Slay. However, you also add Quinion Mitchell, the rookie corner, and Cooper DeJean, the other rookie corner. And also, for what it's worth, you have Bradbury there for depth too. But those two rookie corners are two players that were labeled as being pretty pro-ready. And you get both. And you get both for, I think, a defense that's looking to bounce back. I think both are able to contribute a lot in their first year, especially Quinion Mitchell. I think Cooper DeJean, unfortunately, actually, if you guys haven't heard this, just today, so when you guys were seeing this yesterday, it was kind of announced that he's actually going to miss, I think, a few weeks with a hamstring injury. I don't know if that's a few weeks from right now or if that's a few weeks into the season. So I'm not sure if that's saying, like, he's not going to be back to playing football until late August, or he's not back to playing football until week 4. I don't really know what they meant by that. But regardless, DeJean is going to miss at least some amount of time. Regardless, though, of whether it's in August or, through week 4, I think at some point this season, his presence will definitely be felt. He's a perfectly capable corner. He has good speed. He's very athletic. And I think they needed something like that in the secondary. And so then when you get him and you get Quinion Mitchell, all of a sudden that secondary that went from being not that great and pretty, thin as far as depth goes, you now have two rookies starting, and you still have James Bradbury back there too, and you have Sidney Brown back there as well. So you have a very capable defense, and I think both this offense and defense are looking to bounce back. And so for me, it's like everything's coming together really, really well. And you're in a conference that, compared to the AFC, that's not near as competitive. The AFC has so many teams that could probably break 500 and just not make the playoffs. The NFC is not quite like that. They have some great teams at the top of the conference, but it's not as deep as the AFC is. And so coming over to the schedule, this is the other reason I love the Eagles so much going into 2024, is that you're in a division that is essentially a two-team race. And, it's you and the Cowboys. Unless you're projecting the Commanders or the Giants take a huge leap this season, they're just really not in the race for first place. The Giants are trying to see what they have in Daniel Jones, whether he's worth continuing to play, or you have to look elsewhere. You have Malik Neighbors, so that's exciting. So I don't think your ceiling, or I guess not ceiling, I don't think your expectations are like first place in this division. And then for Washington, you want to see what you have with your new head coach, Dan Quinn, and your rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. So I don't think the priorities are exactly the same. So I like that the Eagles have one other big opponent in the division, being the Cowboys, because other divisions like the AFC North with the Bengals, Ravens, Browns, and Steelers, that's a 4-team race that's going to be a dogfight down the stretch. The Eagles in this division have to really make sure, they're competing with the Cowboys. And so out of division games, you get the AFC North to compete with. And while that is a very competitive division and all teams are honestly really, really good, I think the Eagles can still compete with all those teams, being the Browns and the Bengals and the Ravens and the Steelers. So I like the schedule a lot for them as well. I don't think it's very, I wouldn't say it's not very difficult, but it's very, very winnable if this team can really hit their ceiling. For instance, Green Bay and Atlanta, those are two pretty competitive games, but then you can definitely beat the Saints, you can beat Tampa Bay, you can beat the Giants, you can beat Washington, you can beat Carolina, and you can beat the Giants again, you can beat Washington again. That's a lot of teams that you can, you probably have the advantage over. And then the more, kind of games that could go either way, you can beat Jacksonville, you can beat, LA, you can beat Pittsburgh, for instance, you can beat the Bengals. The hardest games on here are the Cowboys, the divisional game, in my opinion, at least. The Ravens, I think the Bengals should be pretty competitive, and then, even the Packers are probably going to be pretty tough too, but overall, it's not this schedule you're looking at where you're like, man, let's make every single game count. You are able to take advantage of this at some points. So, in my opinion, for the Eagles, you have to capitalize on your divisional opponents that are not near the same level you are, like Washington and like New York. You'd love to split with the Cowboys. You'd love to win 3 of the 4 games of the NFC South, and you'd love to win probably 2 of the 4 games in the AFC North. After that, you're really looking pretty good as far as playoff implications go. I'm currently doing videos going over every single team and predicting their entire season in a much longer segment and more in depth and giving an actual record prediction. We haven't got to the NFC East yet. Right now, we're going to be going to the AFC North next and then the NFC East. So you guys will see another video on the Eagles here pretty soon where I give like an actual record prediction and all. So if you're interested, hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate all the support there. But seriously though, I will be talking about them more again. But the Eagles are seriously a team that I like a lot. I know it's not really like a super hot take because they got Saquon and all this kind of stuff, but really, the Eagles with this, change of coaching, they can really get back to that form we saw in 2022 where they have a very good offense, very good defense. They're at really, top 5 in the league for majority of the season. So if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. Be sure to comment down below any teams you guys want me to cover. Again, I'll be covering every single team at some point because of the divisional videos I'm doing. I rank a lot of teams and players with tier lists, and then any other NFL news and whatnot and draft content whenever that season's on, whenever that draft season is kind of actually in full swing. So, yeah, thanks for watching. I do really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.